You know you're in for a treat when Adele says yes to doing the opening theme song. Skyfall. Skyfall sees Bond's latest mission go horribly wrong, as MI6 operatives are exposed and the organization itself under attack. M is challenged by her authority and her position, as Bond has to figure out what is going on. While being assisted by field operative Eve, he goes undercover to understand who's the mastermind behind this nefarious plan. To be honest, I know absolutely nothing about this film other than the weird jaw scene that I saw on like TikTok and Facebook Reels that was going around for a while. And to be honest, I'm so glad that I went in not knowing absolutely anything about this, because so much from that scene paid off so well. Daniel Craig cements himself as a top tier Bond actor. Here in this movie, he's playing it more like a traditional Bond would, with a traditional spy story and thrilling action that he has to go on. I love that this is a movie where we actually get to dive in deep and actually learn more about him and his history. The title Skyfall might seem weird, but after you actually watch the movie, it has such a deep impact. Javier Bardem is one of the best villains in the entire franchise, with a story and a history that's deeply tied to MI6, and one that you can actually get behind. You actually feel like you understand this guy and where he's coming from, and why he's doing what he's doing. And it all just makes it more sadder by the end of the film. He's just able to captivate you at almost every turn, never letting you know what's going to happen next. And those are just the best villains. This might be a bit of a spoiler, but the love interest in this is actually Eve Moneypenny herself, which is just finally, like, we actually get to see her be the Bond girl in one of these films, a role that she was just born to play. Obviously, it should come as no shock with the fact that since it's Moneypenny and Bond, they just have such a really good chemistry and banter with each other, and anytime they're on scene, it just chews up everything. I love that this sort of feels like a bit of a greatest hits. We get some great action, some fun little gadgets, and overall, we get some really fun spy espionage going on. Speaking of action itself, this film is so heavily stylized, but at the same time, the action is big in focus and on frame for everything to be seen. It's that kind of awesome action that just immerses you in what's going on and actually has something to say. The production and the value that they put into this is just amazing and top tier. From the moment that this movie opens and that shocking reveal of what actually happens on the first mission, you just know this film is not going to go according to plan, and it's going to make you second guess everything that you think will happen. The story and the plot here is so simple, but yet it makes you connect with it even more. It's not a world-ending threat, or it's not having something that's going down and all over every country. It's just a guy trying to get his revenge and Bond trying to stop him. But with that, they tell one of the most emotional stories in this franchise. And I think the way that everything gets wrapped up in the end, by the end of this film, and kind of building up and connects to the original films, I think for me is just peak cinema.
I get it.
If I had to go with anything mixed, it would be the humor. Yeah, I know I say that a lot, but this time around there are some jokes that are fun and lively, but I found it very awkward that they would have jokes and moments that kind of cut the tension or cut something that's very important character-wise or even action-wise. Overall, it's kind of like just one of those movies that kind of cuts away all of the stuff that's it's really building up to just to get a joke out. With a plot like this, I think it's always given that you kind of have to have characters be a little stupid. Like, why does Q plug in a laptop that he hasn't even run a software program on? Why does James not keep shooting the bad guy to stop him? Instead, they have a little bit of a talking banter so that the bad guy can do something to stop Bond from chasing him. I know it's more of a little nitpicky thing so that the movie can keep going and have twists and turns, but it's always a bit of a trope that I never like.
What a cliche.
I also think that the first act isn't as strong as the last act, or last half. Somewhere in the middle mark, we kind of get like some of the formula and tropes and cliches of the genre and the Bond franchise itself before the villain gets captured and then it really starts becoming its own thing. If you're looking for a Bond film with the most satisfying emotional punch and heart-pounding story, then I don't think you can go wrong with this one being your number one pick. Because of this, I have to give this film 4.5 cyanide teeth capsules out of 5. Man, a film so good, it kind of makes you wish that Craig's story for Bond had just ended there. It would have been almost the perfect send-off, honestly. But I guess they wanted to save face for the next film, which ends up being the goofiest and wackiest in this era of Bond. Tomorrow we take a stab at Spectre as we inch closer and closer to that finish line. Gear up and gear out.